Hi, I'm Marcus, 34, and 4 months ago I watched a billion-dollar company collapse because I refused to train my replacement. You want the truth? I never planned to go nuclear. I was going to ride the wave, quietly interview on lunch breaks, and exit with dignity. But when Steve leaned across the table and told me to train Bella, the same Bella they gave my promotion to, I realized something. Dignity doesn't mean staying quiet while people erase your work and call it teamwork. For 5 years, I'd been the backbone of our logistics firm. Not glamorous, but mission critical. I was the guy who fixed things. A crisis? I solved it. A fire? I put it out. Someone quit mid-project? I absorbed their workload like a human sponge and kept smiling. They told me I was essential. Valuable. A rock. But apparently not manager material. Let me walk you through it. The promotion posting went live in March. Senior Operations Manager. Steve, my manager, pulled me aside like a coach before the big game. Marcus, this is your shot. I'll help you prep. We did mock interviews. Rehearsed every talking point. I crushed 3 rounds of interviews, and when the VP smiled at the end and said, "I think you know where this is going," I really thought I did. Then they hired Bella. Bella. Who'd been with the company just over a year. Who I'd trained. Who once asked me how to CC someone in Outlook. Steve called me in on a Friday afternoon. You know the tone. Don't take this personally. Said in a way that makes it personal. He fed me some line about Bella having more direct leadership experience in her previous role. I stared at him, waiting for a punchline. Didn't get one. I nodded, thanked him, left. I didn't yell. Didn't cry. I went back to my desk, opened my laptop, and spent the next hour rewriting my future. By Monday, I was still doing my job, but only my job. No more extra hours. No more team player nonsense. I wasn't the department's Swiss Army knife anymore. I was a scalpel, and I cut clean. Then Tuesday morning came. Steve strolled up with his usual fake cheer. We need you to train Bella for the transition. I laughed. I actually laughed. Not loud, but the kind of laugh that makes people uncomfortable. No, I said. His smile faltered. I'm sorry. I'm not training her. He blinked. That's part of your role. No. It's not. We ended up in HR that afternoon. Brenda from HR gave me that tight-lipped smile they save for problematic employees. She handed me a copy of my job description highlighted, knowledge sharing, and threatened disciplinary action. I said, then do it. But I'm still not training her. They didn't expect that. They expected me to cave. They always had. By Friday, everything started to crack. Bella missed a major deadline. Anna from accounting tried to dump another, urgent, spreadsheet on me, and I bounced it right back. Ronnie from ops started getting his own calls when something broke. And guess what? He couldn't fix a sandwich. The glue was gone. And nobody knew how to hold things together. Steve tried to scare me with a performance improvement plan. So I handed him my resignation instead. Effective immediately. That moment, the silence that followed, it was surgical. Nobody spoke. Not HR. Not Steve. Just stunned blinking as I picked up my box and walked out. You know what happened next? The whole department imploded. I left at 10:42 a.m. on a Tuesday with my head high and my badge in Steve's trash bin. 10 minutes later, I was on the freeway, windows down, and for the first time in 5 years, I could breathe. No spreadsheet alarms, no. Hey Marcus, quick question. At 7 p.m. No Bella standing behind my chair with a smile that said, sorry, I need you to do my job again. You know that feeling when you step outside after quitting a toxic job? Like the sun hits different? That was me. I got home, cracked open a beer I'd been saving for something, and watched the HR emails start rolling in. Please confirm your mailing address for your final paycheck. Your exit interview is scheduled for Thursday. And the kicker. Per company policy, failure to give 2 weeks' notice may impact rehire eligibility. I hit reply. Understood. I have no intention of returning. Sent. Then I turned my phone off and took a nap like a king. But the real show? That started 2 days later. Anna from accounting texted me first. Did you quit? Like actually quit? I replied with the greatest line I've ever typed. Yep. Let me know when the building collapses. She responded. It's already collapsing. Turns out, the company didn't just lean on me. They depended on me like a rusty bridge holding up a freight train. By Thursday, Bella had missed 3 deliverables. Clients were emailing Steve directly asking why the reports were late. Anna had no one to, urgently, dump her numbers on, and Ronnie from Ops had managed to miss out 2 major shipments because the tracking system I built, yeah, the one I never trained anyone on, suddenly became the Bermuda Triangle of inventory. The real kicker? The new intern, Jake, bless his heart, accidentally deleted an entire shared folder trying to update a client dashboard. I'd labeled it clearly. Do not touch active client files. But of course, nobody reads. I was sipping coffee and watching Kate's bloom like a tulip field in hell. Then Steve called. Twice. I ignored both. Then I got an email. Subject: possibility of a transition meeting? A transition meeting. The same guy who threatened to fire me for insubordination was now begging me to come back and teach Bella how to swim after tossing me overboard. You know what I did? I sent a polite reply. Per my resignation letter, I no longer provide services for the company. All transition documentation was stored on the shared drive, which I trust your team has access to. Best of luck. Cold? Maybe. But fair. More than fair, considering. Then I called my cousin Nate, IT guy, loves chaos, and said, remember when I used to talk about burning it all down? He goes, yeah. Did you finally do it? I said, not only did I light the match, I left the door open and pointed a fan at the flame. He howled laughing. By the weekend, I had 3 interview callbacks. Real companies. With real leadership. One recruiter actually said, we've heard about you from someone on the inside. You've got a reputation. I said, good. As long as it's not boring. Meanwhile, inside my old office, Bella was floundering, Steve was sweating through meetings, and Brenda from HR was suddenly relearning what retention crisis meant. The dominoes were falling. And I was just getting started. It all exploded the following Monday. I was in a cafe downtown, halfway through a croissant and a promising second interview over Zoom, when my phone started vibrating like it owed someone money. 7 missed calls, 5 texts, and an email from Anna with the subject line. You broke the company. Not a metaphor. Not an exaggeration. The company had just lost its biggest client, a multi-million-dollar account, because Bella sent them the wrong report for the 3rd time in a week. Not even the wrong version. The wrong company. Like, a completely different client's confidential info. Attached to an email. Sent to the CFO. Let that sink in. Steve tried to spin it. Told the client it was a technical error. The client replied with, Marcus never made errors. Then pulled their contract. Poof. Gone. An hour later, someone from legal forwarded me a copy of the internal damage control memo. It was 8 pages of pure panic. Bullet points. Action items. A full-blown paragraph titled, Root Cause and Accountability. Guess whose name kept popping up? Bella. Followed by a sentence that read like corporate eulogy. Following the recent departure of our lead analyst, we are experiencing a temporary adjustment period. Temporary adjustment is corporate speak for help. The smart guy left and took the map with him. I laughed so hard I dropped my croissant. But it gets better. That afternoon, a recruiter I'd met with on Friday called. She said, you came highly recommended. And after what we just heard, we're moving forward fast. What did you hear? She hesitated. Let's just say, someone on your old team isn't doing well, and it's raised questions about leadership there. Questions you seem to have answered just by leaving. I said, so my references are calling you now? She laughed. Basically. By that evening, I had a verbal offer. Better pay, flexible hours, remote first. Actual respect baked into the culture. I was 2 documents away from a fresh start, and they couldn't even get through Monday without me. Then came the final punch. Tuesday morning. I'm walking my dog, coffee in hand, earbuds in, listening to jazz like a man who owns his schedule now, when I get a call from a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail. 30 seconds later, text from Todd. Dude, Steve's gone. I stopped cold. I called him. Gone like fired? Gone like walked out mid-meeting. VP called him out in front of the department, asked why all the Q4 targets are red. Steve blamed Bella. VP asked why we promoted her. Steve said it was a team decision. VP said that team included Marcus, who's not here anymore. Steve got red, said something about scapegoating, and just walked out. Didn't even grab his coat. And Bella? Crying in the hallway. Brenda was consoling her. I don't know what it says about me, but I felt nothing. Not vindicated. Not smug. Just done. 5 years of loyalty. 5 years of bending over backwards. They replaced me with someone I trained. Then acted like I was the problem for saying no. And in under 2 weeks, their whole system cracked like cheap drywall in a thunderstorm. My inbox was already filling up with onboarding paperwork from my new job. Todd texted one more time. So, are you gonna say anything? Like publicly? I thought about it. Then wrote one tweet. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do for a broken system is leave. Just leave. Watch what happens next. It went viral. By the end of the week, recruiters were quoting it in their LinkedIn posts. My DMs turned into a job fair. And Bella? She ghosted LinkedIn completely. 3 days into my new job, new desk, new boss, new life, I got a phone call from an unknown number. It was my mom. Now you need to understand something. My mother calls only for weddings, funerals, or catastrophes. And since nobody had recently gotten married or died, I picked up with my internal alarm siren already wailing. Her voice came through sharp, immediate. Marcus. What did you do? Not a greeting. Not even a, how are you? Just DEFCON 1. I blinked. Hi, Mom. I'm good. Thanks for asking. The new job is great. Don't get smart with me. She snapped. Your cousin works at Livingston and Trent. You know what that means? Of course I did. Livingston and Trent was the consulting firm our company had brought in to audit operations after the client fallout. It was standard procedure. Well, standard in the we are one scandal away from a lawsuit sort of way. He told me. She hissed. That your name came up in the executive meeting. I raised an eyebrow. Did it also come with a trophy? Don't joke. They said you refused to train your replacement and left them with a mess. I took a long, patient breath. Mom. I was passed over for a promotion. Then asked to train the person they gave my job to. When I said no, they threatened me. So I quit. Professionally. I left everything documented. They chose not to read it. She huffed. Still. That's not how we raised you. Ah, there it was. The we raised you better than this guilt maneuver. Weapon of choice in the parental Olympics. You raised me to work hard. I said. And I did. I raised myself to stop letting people treat me like a doormat with Wi-Fi. She didn't respond. I thought maybe that was the end of it. But no. She passed the phone. To him. Dad. Son. He began, in that disappointed dad voice reserved for dropped report cards and fender benders. This is a bad look. For who? For you. Word gets around, Marcus. You don't want to be known as the guy who burns bridges. I actually laughed. Dad, they built the bridge on quicksand and handed me the lighter. He sighed. You always were dramatic. This from the man who once threatened to disown me over a bumper sticker. You know what's dramatic? I said. Sabotaging your own department by giving a promotion to someone who wasn't ready because you wanted to reward loyalty instead of competence. Then blaming the one guy who held it all together when the house came down. I heard silence on the other end. The good kind? Then, finally, my dad said quietly, Your uncle said you're getting job offers left and right. I am. And you're already working again? Third day. They actually listen when I speak here. It's unnerving. Another pause. Then, in the smallest voice I've ever heard from the man who used to yell at referees from the bleachers. Proud of you, kid? That landed. I'll admit it. It sat somewhere behind my ribs and pressed gently for a while. But then he said, Just, next time, try not to cause a scene. I smiled. Sometimes the scene is the point. We hung up. And 2 hours later, I got an email. From Bella. Subject line. Can we talk? Bella's email didn't have a body. Just the subject line. Can we talk? I stared at it for a full 2 minutes before deciding, yeah, let's talk. I forwarded it to my personal archive, closed my laptop, and went to the gym instead. Ran 5 miles like I was chasing peace down a hallway it didn't want to be found in. But the next morning? I replied. Short and surgical. If it's about work, please direct any questions to Steve or HR. If it's not, I don't know what there is to discuss. She replied 5 minutes later. Long message. Full of fluff. Here's the condensed version. I didn't know how much pressure you were under. I never wanted to take anything from you. They didn't tell me I was being promoted until the day before. I didn't realize how badly they treated you until I tried doing the job. It's not what I expected. No apology. No, I'm sorry for benefiting from your work and pretending I earned it. Just corporate guilt in lowercase sentences. I didn't respond. Until the next message came through. This one started with, I'm quitting. I sat back in my chair. Read it twice. Bella, who once spent 20 minutes trying to figure out how to copy-paste a formula, was finally admitting she wasn't built for the job she stole. She wrote, I thought I was ready. I wasn't. Every day I feel like I'm drowning in things you used to handle effortlessly. Nobody helps. Everyone blames me. I cry in the bathroom at least once a week. There it was. Cracks in the mirror she'd been polishing since the day they handed her my job. If I had known how much they lean on you. She wrote, I would have said no. That part actually made me pause. Because here's the thing, I don't think she's a bad person. I think she's a person who walked through a door someone else held open, and only later looked around and asked, Wait, why is the house on fire? Still, I didn't reply. It wasn't spite. It was clarity. This whole mess, was never really about Bella. She was the symptom. The real disease was a culture that rewarded smiling mediocrity over quiet competence. That fed you platitudes while draining your energy, then acted shocked when you finally unplugged your worth from their system. And if that system crushed Bella on the way down? Well, I didn't push her. I just moved out of the way. But Steve? Steve was circling the drain. Todd sent me a screenshot from a Slack channel. Reminder, if you are asked to take on Marcus's previous tasks, please escalate to Steve directly. He is managing the workload for now. I nearly spit out my coffee. Steve. Managing. My workload. That man once scheduled a meeting to prepare for another meeting. And now he was drowning in deadlines, vendor calls, 3 furious clients, and a dozen reports I used to produce in my sleep. Apparently, the VP had started sitting in on team huddles. Watching. Listening. Asking questions like, how did this process work before? The answer was always the same. Marcus handled it. My name became a ghost. A shadow in every conversation. A punchline with teeth. Todd said at one point during a call, someone muttered, honestly, just rehire Marcus and beg. They didn't. Of course. Pride doesn't like the taste of humble pie. But the cracks were everywhere. 2 more analysts quit. HR started offering retention bonuses. Like breath mints. And the VP, sent a department-wide email with the subject line, rebuilding trust and transparency. Translation? We blew it. We know it. But we're gonna pretend we don't while asking you to work overtime. Meanwhile, I was thriving. My new boss sent me a Slack message my second week. I saw the dashboard you built. Brilliant work. Thank you. A sentence I hadn't heard in 5 years. My new coworkers? Competent. Collaborative. No passive-aggressive 6 p.m. emails. No late-night crises labeled urgent, when they were just someone forgetting their deadline. My stress levels dropped so low I started sleeping through the night again. And the biggest shock? I actually started enjoying Mondays. Then, one morning, as I was settling into my new rhythm, I got a letter. From corporate legal at my old job. Subject line? Cease and desist. The cease and desist letter accused me of intentionally disrupting company operations, withholding proprietary knowledge, and this was my favorite, fomenting disloyalty among current staff. I laughed. Out loud. In the middle of a coffee shop. Fomenting disloyalty? Buddy, I left. You're the ones who set the building on fire and are mad the smoke alarm worked. I sent the letter to my new company's legal team. They read it, rolled their eyes, and advised me to ignore it. Empty threat, they said. You were an at-will employee who resigned legally. They're just panicking. And panic they did. Because the week after that letter, Bella officially quit. No notice. Just a short email, 1 line. Effective immediately, I resign. Todd texted me a photo of her desk. Empty. Chair still spinning. Someone had left a stress ball on her keyboard like a memorial. She never responded to my last email, and I didn't chase it. The company scrambled. Tried to patch holes with interns, freelancers, whoever they could bribe with a Starbucks gift card and a vague job title. But the rot was already set. By the end of the quarter, they'd lost 3 clients and 2 directors. The VP who told me, "I think you know how this is going to go," was suddenly exploring other opportunities. Steve quietly pushed out. Pursuing new challenges. On LinkedIn with 0 endorsements. You know what I was doing? Getting promoted. For months in, my new boss called me into a meeting. Told me I was being bumped up to strategy lead. Bigger role, better pay, stock options. Said my work ethic reminded them what real leadership looks like. I nodded, thanked her, went home, and sat on my balcony with a cold beer and no notifications. That night, I finally unboxed something I'd left taped shut for months. The Employee of the Quarter plaque they gave me 2 years ago. I held it for a minute, then tossed it in the trash. Because I finally understood. That plaque? It was hush money. A polished token of, "Please keep carrying everyone while we give your job to someone with shinier shoes." Not anymore. Now I work somewhere that values skill over sacrifice. That doesn't confuse burnout with dedication. I get to sleep. I get to breathe. I get to matter. And when people ask what happened at my last job, I just smile and say, they promoted the wrong person. And I let them feel the full cost. Then I sip my coffee and get back to work. Because the best revenge is a calendar with no emergency meetings, and a life you don't need to escape from.